This is the HamBuilder HBR4HFS is the model number. Turns out it's a Group 1. It's been updated since I bought it. This was an eBay find. Found this radio on eBay, thought it looked cool. This is made in Indonesia, or at least the item location claims it's in Indonesia. So it's not a Chinese radio. It's an HF 4-band transceiver that's advertised at 100 watts. We're going to look at that today.
Shut up and sit down.
Ham Radio 2.0, where we do reviews, news, and how-tos of things that are new in amateur radio. Thank you for joining the channel today. My name's Jason. I'm KC5HWB, and if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you very much for being here. This is a radio I found on eBay, which was advertised as a 100-watt radio. Actually, the first version I found, they have several versions. This is the one that I picked up. They've had 2 or 3 new versions come out since I bought this. It's actually been several months since I bought this. I've taken it out to the field 2 or 3 times, done some testing with it, so this video has been a long time coming. The first version I found, they had a dual-band 40 and 80 meter radio that they claimed would do 100 watts on single sideband PEP per band. Now, the radio will work on CW. It will work on single sideband. It does not have data connections for an internal sound card. It doesn't even have a way to plug up the radio to a computer. It doesn't have a USB port. It doesn't have a data port. It doesn't have anything like that. At least this version doesn't. I'm going to take the overhead cam and go around the radio here in just a minute. But this version is the quad band. It does 20 meters, 30 meters, 40 meters, and 80 meters. And when they released it, I'm like, oh, cool, they've got one that'll do more. Because I thought 40 and 80 was a little bit, I was like, okay, 40's great. 80, okay, if you have enough room for an antenna and you like to talk late at night, then great. Or if you like to talk on contest weekends. But why not do one with 20 and 40 instead of 40 and 80? I never got that. But whatever, that's what they chose to do. Again, these are not American made, so maybe they're not targeting the U.S. amateur operator. I don't know. That's a guess. Regardless of that, when they came out with a quad band, which is 20, 30, 40, and 80, and at the time of this recording, the time I'm recording this intro, they've actually got a Group 1. This is called the Group 1 radio. The Group 2 radio replaces 30 meters with 60 meters. So you can get a quad band in 20, 30, 40, and 80, or you can get a quad band in 20, 40, 60, and 80. Okay, so depending on what you want to do with it. I have not operated CW on this radio. I don't really do CW much. I'm still muddling my way through the classes and learning more CW as time goes on. So I haven't done any CW operating, but I have done some single sideband operating. And before we get into all that, I'm going to let you guys kind of look and see what you think. But this radio sells for $235, no matter whichever band preference you get. So realistically, for a non-QRP radio, I thought, you know, it's worth a shot. I wanted to pick it up. I wanted to do some testing out. Glad I did. Not too happy with the results. So let's go through it right now. Got the overhead cam up and running right now. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over there. Right there. This is obviously this is the top of the radio. It does have a top firing speaker. This is the part that I was disappointed in. We'll get to that in a minute. Really good heat sink on the back here. In fact, this thing will reach out and grab you and cut you in the arm. Don't ask me how I know that. This is the front of the radio. I'm going to power it up here in a minute so you guys can see the screen. But we've got a microphone port right here. This is the on and off switch, power, microphone port. This is your mic gain, volume, RX gain right here, and then transmit gain. This is basically your transmit gain. I guess you could turn the power down with that. I never really figured out what that did because I never had a power meter on it when I was in the field, but maybe we can test that here in a minute. This is your screen. These buttons over here are your band switch, 80, 40, 30, 20. This is an AB and a mode, so you can switch modes with this band, with this button between CW and single sideband, and this is your AB. So it's got like a dual VFO thing, but it's not really a dual VFO. It's not, you can't receive on both VFOs. It doesn't have 2 receivers. You can't receive on both at the same time. On the bottom here, they put this nifty little chart that shows the minimum and maximum range of each band. So 80, 40, 30, and 20. 20 goes from 14.0 to 14.35. 30 goes from 10.1 to 11.449. That's a weird range. 40 goes from 6.9 to 7.499, and 80 goes from 3.5 to 3.99. Again, this is not a ooh, look, they put my name on it. because when I ordered it, it's a serial number, calibration, etc., etc. So this is not a radio that is made in the USA and type accepted or anything like that. But since we're amateurs, we get to play with experimental equipment, and that's definitely what this is. Here's your one antenna port, so it's only got a single antenna port. So a lot of people care about that. There's your keyer port. It's a 3.5 millimeter plug. The power that comes out of it is this this little. I put this Velcro strap on it. It just had a zip tie on it when I got it. So the power that comes out is, it's kind of strange looking actually. It's got 4 cables coming out the back of it. Okay, 2 black and 2 red, and then they tie themselves together. There's 2 black here and 2 red here. So for whatever reason, they did it in like a 4 cable thing. Obviously, if I was going to keep this and use it on a regular basis, I'd want to put power poles on this. I just wrapped it around the terminals of the battery and or the power supply to use it for this experiment, and went from there. This has got the seal on it. That's kind of neat. Seal on that end as well. Bottom, top, and that's all the way around. So as you can see, there's really nowhere on this radio to plug in a computer. There is a headphone right here. There's also no external speaker jack. There's the top firing speaker is here. There's a headphone speaker here. I tried 2 different, and we're going to get to that here later in the video. I tried 2 different speakers in this headphone jack. A powered speaker and a non-powered external speaker. Both of them failed. Both of them would not work. I did try headphones, and it worked fine. Headphones were just fine. So this is your 6-pin. Yeah, that's a 6-pin microphone plug right there. This really looks like a Bofang mug. This really looks like a Bofang microphone. Like there's a word right there, written right there, that I can't quite make out. It looks like they kind of painted over it or something. I can't make that out. Anyway, that's your microphone. Nothing special. No DTMF tones or anything, just a microphone plugs directly into the radio, and that's all you've got. All right, so let's plug it up to the power meter, take a look at it, and take a look at the screen powered up and see what we see. This is the screen of the radio, obviously. You can see right there where I was talking about a VFO and a VFO A and B, so we can switch between the bands, but it will not receive both at the same time. Nor would you really expect it to on a radio in this price range, quite frankly. I mean, not even the IC7300 has dual VFOs. Plugged into a dummy load here. I got to get my microphone plugged up. I've actually never done a power test on this radio, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to find right now. All right, so once again, the radio advertises on eBay to output 100 watts at 13.8 volts, which is what we're at. On the, I'm going to move the camera for just a second. On the MFJ meter over there, it shows a 2 amp 13.7, kind of a touchy sensor. That's close enough. I'm gonna leave it at 13.7. It shows a 2 amp power consumption at idle. I have my Flex radio powered on to this same power supply right now. So this is not just, in fact, I'll go ahead and power it off. I generally leave my Flex radio powered on, and I've recorded videos in the past where people have said, wow, that sure does have a lot of power consumption for just sitting idle. That has a large, 2 to 3 amps just sitting idle. That's way too much. And I'm like, I've got my Flex radio on. So, and it does take about 1.5 amps, about just under 2 amps to sit idle. The Flex radio does, but it's not a field radio. It's a shack radio. So I'm okay with that. All right. So now that I've turned that off, I've shown 0.1 amps on receive with just well, I've actually got the power meter. This power meter is also plugged into it. This power meter from MFJ. Special thanks to MFJ for allowing me to use their power meter. Really like this MFJ 849. And then the radio, of course, is powered on. And you can see right there, it's got 0.1 amps at 13.8 volts. 13.8 volts is supposed to be where this radio performs optimal power output. And we're going to test that here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and put the transmit gain up, because that's different. That's a different knob than mic gain. So we've got mic gain, transmit gain. So I'm going to guess transmit gain is the power output. Again, I've never actually done a power output test on this radio. So we're on 14.256 upper sideband. Upper sideband's in the top right there. It's kind of hard to see in the screen because the screen's so dark. There's not a screen adjustment on here. I cannot control the brightness of the screen. So that's something to note as well. But that is what it does say, upper sideband right here. Hopefully it'll come through in the camera a little bit better. I don't know. But this is your VFO and A and B, like I said a minute ago. 20 meters, the advertised output on 20 meters is 25 watts. If I had a key, I could probably do this a little bit easier, but I don't have a key because I don't do CW. So we're just going to do it on sideband. And I'm going to go like, yeah, that's fine. And we are in a dummy load, just for those who care about that sort of thing. All right, so KC5 HWB testing on the HamBuilder. 1, 2, 3. KC5 HWB testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it did peak up to 25 one time. SWR looks good. Peaked up to about 25. It's running between, like, 15 and 20 watts. Peaked up to 25. Again, this is sideband, single sideband. So your ups and downs are going to be random like that. More, if you don't understand single sideband works, there are videos on YouTube to explain that. This is not the purpose of this video. So I'm going to skip. So it's doing pretty much what it's supposed to be doing. I could yell into the microphone, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to skip 30 meters because 30 meters you're not really supposed to do voice on. And even though we're going into a dummy load, for the sake of best practices on amateur radio, I'm just going to skip 30 meters. So we're going to go straight to 40 meters. We're at 7.2. I'm just going to turn it down there to 7.2. Advertised output on 40 meters is 80 watts. So we're going to try this right here. 1, 2, 3. You see it jumped up to 7.8 almost immediately. 1, 2, 3. 85 watts right there. KC5 HWB testing on 40 meters from the HamBuilder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yeah, so that's good. So I think it peaked at like 85 watts. You will see we're on lower sideband right there as well. Hopefully that's coming through in the camera. We're going to go over here to 80. 80 meters is where it's advertised for 100 watts. So it's definitely not the same power output on all bands, which was disappointing to me, but I don't know. I could have lived with it if it wasn't for some other idiosyncrasies here. So I also tested this transmit gain. We're going to get to that in a second because I'm not sure what that button does. All right, so 100 watts, 80 meters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. KC5 HWB testing on the HamBuilder HF radio into a dummy load. KC5 HWB testing. All right, so we're peaking right at 100 watts. That's good. This transmit gain, I don't know what this button does. The manual is kind of ambiguous. The mic gain is obviously the sensitivity of the microphone. I thought transmit gain might be power out. It goes all the way up to 5 o'clock on the dial, and it comes back down to 7 o'clock on the dial. So I'm going to set it at about noon on the dial. That should be 50% power. KC5 HWB testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. KC5 HWB testing. You still see it's peaking at like 90 or 100 watts. 80 to 90 watts. I'm going to turn it down farther and see what it does. This might be, the purpose of this might be power output, but it doesn't look like it's calibrated very well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. KC5 HWB testing. Or if I turn it down to like 9 o'clock, it's kicking 30 watts. KC5 HWB testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's kicking about 50 watts, rather. So it's about half power down there. So it doesn't look like it's very linear, but I assume that's probably your power output knob there. I keep getting my finger in the way. That's probably your power output knob there. So power test, I think that's pretty successful, quite frankly, for what it's advertised to do, for the price point of the radio, for the multi-band use of the radio for single sideband. I'd say I'm pretty happy with that. Power output at 25 watts on 20. Again, we didn't do 30 because I don't have a keyer. And I could have, I guess you can plug the microphone. Well, no, the microphone's a different type of plug. I could have done the keyer if I wanted to, but I didn't want to mess around with that. The other 3 out of 4 bands are doing what they're advertised at, so I'm going to assume that 30 meters is probably real close to where it's advertised at too. So we're going to take this radio out into the field. We're going to do some testing with it. We're going to try to make some contacts with it on a couple of different field day activities. Again, this video, I've been working on it for several months and had it out at the field for field day and winter field day of 2021. So I'm going to put it on the Buddy Hex antenna, let you guys look at it and see what you think about it. Stay tuned.
73 Hotel 2 Alpha Alpha.
Kilo Charlie 5, Hotel Whiskey Bravo.
And he has the full diffusers, so that's the trait you're trying. That's the one everybody wants. The folded acres. It's actually pretty cool.
Alpha Alpha 5 Juliet Foxtrot 59100.
What? Why are people idiots? Buying it, 1,000 plus.
73 Hotel 2 Alpha Alpha.
Kilo Charlie 5, Hotel Whiskey Bravo.
Typically sell them between 25
November Quebec Foxtrot 59100. Delta 59 New York.
and we'll sell this for 1,500, so about 10,000.
73 Hotel 2 Alpha Alpha.
Kilo Charlie 5, Hotel Whiskey Bravo.
Mike Kilo Kilo.
Minus each litter we take them to the vet. They do their health check and the shots and everything before they leave.
Alpha Delta 4 Echo Sugar 59100.
Thank you, 59 Foxtrot Lima. $10,000 is what
73 Hotel 2 Alpha Alpha.
Kilo Charlie 5, Hotel Whiskey Bravo.
Mike Kilo Kilo.
And you're not, that's what it is.
November 8th Alpha Alpha 59100. 73 Hotel 2 Alpha Alpha.
Kilo Charlie 5, Hotel Whiskey Bravo.
November Echo 0 United 59100.
I'm not getting through to him on 25 watts.
Don't choose Go MWA Hotel 2 Alpha Alpha.
Yes, I can see if
Kilo Charlie 5, Hotel Whiskey Bravo.
Mike Kilo. The Victor Echo 3 please. Victor Echo 3 Echo Tango Echo. Victor Echo 3 Papa Japan 59100 over. Thank you, QSL. Thank you, 17. Thank you. The other Victor Echo? Victor Echo 3, Echo Tango Echo. The Victor Echo 1 only, please. Victor Echo 1, Romeo Sugar Mike 59100, over. Thanks, Bob, for the multiplier. Hotel 2 Alpha Alpha.
Kilo Charlie 5, Hotel Whiskey Bravo.
Kilo. Kilo 2 India.
it's not running in split mode, is it?
No, that's a VFOB on the bottom.
Do you have lens caps for this guy? Don't bother me, Nate.
All right, in the follow-up for this transceiver that I started a video on several months ago, and I haven't really had the opportunity to take it back out in the field yet. So for Field Day 2021 weekend, I wanted to bring this HamBuilder transceiver. This is the quad band transceiver that we saw earlier in the video. All of the tests I've done this weekend prove that not necessarily the receiver is bad, but that the audio coming out of the radio is bad. So in other words, the speaker that's in the radio itself, I think, is just bad. But the actual audio, okay, so first of all, this port right here on the front, I'll get a close-up of it here in a minute. This port right here is a headphone jack. There is not an external speaker jack, it's just a headphone jack. Most of the time that doesn't matter. On a lot of other transceivers that doesn't matter. But external speakers, be it this is a BHI speaker that I'm doing a review on for Gigaparts. This speaker will not work because it's powered. And this speaker here, the standard MFJ 281, which I've got a bunch of these in my vehicle, and this is a great speaker. This non-powered speaker also will not work in the headphone jack. Now, I got a pair of headphones. I plugged it in to the jack. I could hear audio out of the left side, and it was just as muffled and almost unreadable as it is coming out of the top of the speaker. So, is the receiver bad? Because it's picking up traffic, it's picking up transmissions, but the processing of that audio coming through the radio into the speaker, be it the built-in speaker or the headphone jack, is just terrible. You can't hardly hear it. This is all, I've got the volume cranked all the way up right now. it's almost impossible to hear anything coming out of this radio. So I had high hopes for this one, and I know they sell a lot of these on eBay, so perhaps I just got a bad one, maybe. In fact, I was looking at their eBay store the other day, and they just came out with a new model of transceiver, and I think I can't remember the specs on it right now. I'll do an overlay right here, but this one, like, it's taller than this one. It's almost like a double DIN car stereo size instead of being short and flat like this one. So this is a great concept. It's a great idea. I really love the screen. I love the layout. It's very simple. It does not have an internal tuner. It doesn't have a port on the back for an external tuner. It doesn't have a port on the back for an external speaker. I thought that was kind of weird and would have been easy to fix. It doesn't have an internal sound card or a way to interface it into a computer at all. No USB port, no data port at all. So it's very limited radio for the price point. You know, I kind of expect it to be. That's fine. And if the audio coming back to me was good enough, then I would probably use this on occasion, but it's just almost unusable right now. Put your comments below. Let me know if you've seen these, or if you have one, or if you do have one, let me know if the audio is so bad on yours too. Again, maybe I just got a bad unit, and most of them aren't like this. So I'd be curious to see what you have to say in the comments below. I'll give you a look at the radio, and then I'll catch you next time.
Okay, thank you. You're in the law. Yes, you are. Yes, 4. What's your radio, Charlie?